Welcome everyone back to our channel. We are so excited to come back to you guys again. Welcome to 2020, Sean. We had a very busy holiday season. We had a new member of our YouTube family join the fray. Little Luke came into the world. No relation to Luke Skywalker, by the way. And we're just excited to be talking to you guys again.
Can I just tell you that when Luke Naylor was born, I told my wife, he's really making me look bad that he's naming his child after a Star Wars character, kind of trumping me on the supreme fandom here. So a little
let me just
jealous.
say, it was not on purpose that we named him Luke after Luke Skywalker. If it was on purpose, he would have been named Qui-Gon. So let's just clear the air there, because Qui-Gon is my favorite. But
Well, if I have another son, his name will be Watto.
Quiglars. How about that one?
That's right. His name will be Watto Kobe.
Well, Sean, we have a big announcement. How about you tell the YouTube community what's going on with our channel?
Yeah, you might already know this from the title of this video, or maybe not. Well, maybe we'll leave it spoiler free. But it was probably a couple months ago that Joseph and I started to discuss the branding of our channel and our little show that we do here. Obviously, the Salty Socks podcast was a confusing name for a lot of people. They didn't know why we called ourselves that, and frankly, it was just an inside joke from our undergrad college days that we thought would be funny. But we got more and more questions about it, and we realized this doesn't really describe anything about us or what we talk about, which is primarily Star Wars. And as we got more active on Twitter and things like that, we realized maybe we should try to have like more of a Star Wars type name. So we went through, I would say, Joseph, weeks of brainstorming and feeling like we didn't like anything. We're like,
yeah, nothing was working.
Are we trying to be funny? Are we trying to be like witty and like with a pun or something like that? And we just couldn't land on anything. And finally we were like, what is our brand? Our brand is that we're two dads that love Star Wars and talk about it after our kids go to bed. And often in these videos, you can hear our children crying or something. And you have to stop the video and whatever, splice it all together because of the noises that our children make at night. And so we thought, let's do something with dads. So the name that we came up with, everyone, and drum roll please, is Dads of Dagobah.
Yeah, I like it.
So we did some focus groups with that. One of the first people I told after my wife, and obviously Joseph was my mother, and I said, Mom, what do you think of the name Dads of Dagobah? And I quote, I think that's stupid.
My wife doesn't like it either.
So most of the people we've told have not liked the name. But doggone it, we feel like we couldn't come up with anything else. We like it because it talks about us being dads. Dagobah is clearly a Star Wars thing where Yoda is from. We like Yoda. He's one of our favorite characters. So Dads of Dagobah it's the alliteration, and we're sticking with it. It's Star Warsy, and that's what it's going to be moving forward. And even, Joseph, we rebranded our logo, and we commissioned a new YouTube intro, little animation.
Right. Listen, we spared no expense. I want to give a big shout out. Well, let's show them first, and then we'll tell them who made it.
Yeah, this is the world premiere of the Dads of Dagobah YouTube intro. Roll it.
Wow, Sean. That is high quality stuff right there, and I love it. I think that was made by your brother-in-law, right?
My brother-in-law, who just graduated with a degree in digital animation, and I told him what I wanted, and he was very patient with me as I said, maybe something else. Can you do this? Can you do this? And I'm pretty impressed with the finished product.
I love it.
Obviously, way better than anything that we could do. So we love it, and we're excited about that, above and beyond my expectations. So
Yeah.
shout out to Davis. Thank you for doing that for us. We're excited.
Can I also say something about the name? It's also hard and kind of disheartening when we found a name that we liked. We'd have I would go do a Google search and come back and be like, no, there's already a podcast, another Star Wars podcast with that name, or oh no, another Star Wars podcast already has that name too. So coming up with that Dagobah, I think, was a great find, and the fact that we came up with the name even before Baby Yoda was a thing, and then once Baby Yoda became this big thing, we're like, oh, this is perfect. Like, we hit the nail on the head. We probably should have rebranded it a few months ago, but lo and behold, here we are in February, and I love it.
Yeah, when we first came up with the name, we started to workshop some logos, and it was using, adult Yoda. And then when Mandalorian came out, we're like, oh my gosh, we need to ride the Baby Yoda wave.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're excited about that. Yeah, we came up with quite a few different names that we would Google search, and it was either already taken or whatever. For a while, we wanted to do the Yodads, like Yoda but dads, like combining those, and we were really stuck on the dads thing. We were like, was it Dad Squadron or Yodads or whatever? And Yodads, when you Google that, is literally like yo, what's up, dads. And so it wasn't. There was too much white noise on the internet with Yodads.
But I'm excited for this.
Mom, aren't you glad that we did Dads of Dagobah and not Yodads?
Or Dark Side Formaldehyde.
Yeah, my mom wants us to do Dark Side Formaldehyde, which is pretty good. Sounds like a good band.
That is a great one. Well, let's talk a little bit about what our plans are for this episode. It's not just our rebranding episode. There's still a lot that has happened in the, 5-6 weeks since the Rise of Skywalker has come out. We put all those videos out right after we stopped, but then we've kind of been radio silent. I just wanted to talk a little bit about our thoughts about Rise of Skywalker, a few weeks later, thoughts about the new Clone Wars series, and anything else that may be on our minds before we wrap this episode up. So, Sean, what do you think, having 6 weeks to digest and look through all the leaked scripts from Colin Trevorrow and all of the concept art and hearing some of the behind the scenes, what are you thinking about Rise of Skywalker now? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I would suggest that maybe we do a whole separate video just dedicated to the Duel of the Fates concept art and script, because there's a lot of cool stuff in there, and I'd like to have it all in front of me that we can go through some of those details. But just to touch briefly on it, there was some really cool stuff in that concept art and in that script that I thought would have been
a Rise of Coruscant. That is awesome.
Where you just thought, wow, that would have been really cool to see. But my one caveat with it is concept art and bullet points from somebody reading a draft of a script is not a finished product or a movie. I'm sure there are lots of movies that have really cool scripts and the movies end up not being good. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure that if I would have seen the Rise of Skywalker script, some of the scenes in the Rise of Skywalker, reading it on a script, I probably would have been like, ooh, that's going to be really cool to see, or concept art, oh, that's really cool. So
yeah, Rey and Kylo fighting in the Death Star throne room, or a Sith planet of Exegol,
Yeah.
On paper, that sounds cool.
So I understand a lot of the hype for the Duel of the Fates stuff, and I do want to talk about it more in depth, and some of those details and stuff. But I want to still have a little bit of love for the Rise of Skywalker. I know that it's been interesting in the last 5 weeks or so since we last talked about it, but to just be a fan in social media and seeing all the opinions and all of the, on both ends of the spectrum, the intense love for the movie, the just vitriolic hatred of the decisions made in the movie, everywhere in between. It's it's where we are as a Star Wars fandom, I guess, is that's how it's going to be moving forward. Um, has my I haven't seen it in theaters since um, the week of Christmas, and has my has it fallen a little bit for me maybe in the rankings, or my love for it maybe a little bit has waned just because the initial excitement is out. And yeah, you can't help but see when you see all the criticisms and negativity, you're like, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense, or yeah, I don't know if I do like that. I went through a very similar process with The Last Jedi. That hatred and negativity kind of overwhelmed me. I was like, oh yeah, this movie isn't very good. But
Hmm.
I don't feel that way necessarily about Rise of Skywalker. I from what I remember of those experiences, I enjoyed it every time I saw it. Um, there are things that I think don't really work, but I think as a whole, the trilogy, we've talked at length about it not being a cohesive story and not really connecting like you would hope it would. But overall, I think the sequel trilogy did a great job of getting us back into the world of Star Wars. I still like The Rise of Skywalker. I don't think it's a bad movie. And but yeah, it's I've kind of come a little bit back down to earth on it since all of the fan reaction, and especially with the Colin Trevorrow stuff, where I'm like, ooh, some of that stuff I think would have been better than the
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker. But it is what it is. We got the Rise of Skywalker, and I enjoy the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I would say I'm kind of in the same area with you. I am very excited for the movie to come out so I can watch it at home, whether it's on Disney Plus or Blu-ray or whatever. But the more I read on the internet, the more it seems like my opinion of it is more solidified in that it's kind of a meh movie for me. Like, I did really like it. It is a fun movie, but it's not what I thought it could be. It makes me appreciate The Last Jedi a whole lot more. The more I watch scenes and clips from The Last Jedi, I'm like, oh my gosh, they did such a good job with that movie. And then I realize in Rise of Skywalker, there aren't really a lot of those moments for me. And then even last week when the news story came out that Adam Driver was re-recording lines like a month before release, there was this big hoopla about whether or not um, the whole Palpatine reveal was saved until later, and I kind of tweeted something out from our Twitter page. It looks like that wasn't the case. It looks like that reveal was in plans many months and maybe even years ago. So I don't think that my conspiracy theory was on there, but I just still do not like the fact that she's a Palpatine. And I remember telling, like, the second time we watched the movie, thinking this is now canon. I just have to accept it. It's just part of life now. But it still just bothers me. And I don't know. I'm excited for the future of Star Wars. I'm excited for what new movies there are coming out. But it didn't feel like the end of a saga to me. It didn't feel like the end of 9 movies in that sense.
Yeah, well, I would say that Last Jedi felt like too much of an ending for me because I knew there was one more after, and Last Jedi felt very like conclusive to me. Um, and then Rise of Skywalker, I felt like it just was there was so much they were trying to do and wrap up, and it just that's a difficult thing to do. I mean, how do you satisfy an entire fan base? You're not going to be able to. I think J.J. Abrams has done a pretty good job at acknowledging that. He's been
Mm-hmm.
very vocal about the people who didn't like the movie. They're right. Like if it didn't land for them, it didn't land for them. But there are also people who really did enjoy the movie and loved elements of it. And it's an impossible task to make wrap up a 40-year story and make everybody love it.
Yep. Yep.
And I do think that it was a mistake that other writer guy, Chris Terrio, who keeps making more and more comments about what they were thinking or why they did certain things, because I'm like, I think that you just need to leave it alone at this
You're
point.
just adding fuel to the fire here.
Yes, because I think it has contributed to, like what you said, it has made certain people who maybe didn't like the movie or felt like it was kind of meh in the middle it has made them feel more like, okay, you guys didn't know what you were doing, or you didn't put thought into that, and I wish you would have put thought into it, instead of just like, I guess we'll do this type of thing.
Yeah. And that's why I think when the Duel of Fates script leaked, or the bullet points leaked and the concept art has come out, people are like, they're comparing it, like you said earlier, they're comparing it to a finished product. And I fell into that same trap where I was like, oh my gosh, the fact that Finn is leading this uprising on Coruscant, or Rey has a double-bladed lightsaber that she gets to use throughout the movie, like, that's things I wanted. And I feel like, yeah, I can't compare apples to oranges, because I read someone say concept art is meant to be like those big moments. Like, that's what they're trying to hit with concept art, is like these big reveals or these big like moments in the movie. And so when you see those, you're like, oh wow, look at that. But concept art doesn't make a movie. There's a whole lot more into it than just images on a page. But I am excited for the art of the Rise of Skywalker. Supposedly, when that book comes out, it's not going to have any of the Duel of the Fates concept art. It's going to start from when they picked up the movie. So I guess the only thing we'll have is the leaks on the internet.
Yeah. Can I tell you too, what I'm excited for about the future is that, for better or worse, we are now unburdened by the Skywalker story and legacy. And as much as I love the Skywalker saga and that family and those characters, I think that we really are going to. Some of the issues of the sequel trilogy were that they were trying to blend the nostalgia of the Skywalker legacy characters, original trilogy stuff, with these new characters and a new story, and those were at odds at certain parts of the trilogy, and I think it kind of crumbled a little bit under the weight of that expectation. Whereas now they're free of that, start new stories, new characters, and kind of similar, kind of like The Mandalorian, where I feel like it's just this refreshing, like, okay, there's no expectation here for the characters or things like that. It's just, let's get back into that galaxy far, far away and here's some new stories.
Yeah, it seems like with The Mandalorian, they did a great job at like creating this whole new set of people, but still putting in just enough familiarity for the fan to be like, oh my gosh, they're on Tatooine. Oh, it's a dark saber. Oh, it's a Yoda species. I mean, that's not like a big fan that would only recognize him as a Yoda species, but those types of things where everything's brand new. There's hardly any there are a few callbacks, but like there's no Skywalker, there's no lightsabers, there's no the Force. Well, okay, I take that back. The baby does have the Force, but they don't really know what it is. They're like, what is that thing doing?
You even watched the show, okay?
Yeah. Sorry.
He's Force choking people. He's tapping into the dark side.
So I think, yeah, I'm excited for that. It seems like, from what I understand, the new movies are going to be about okay, so I got to get it right. The High Republic?
High Republic. The High Republic, yes.
So which is not Ryan's trilogy.
Not as old as the old Republic, but it's supposed to be set, around 400 to 500 years before the prequels and original trilogy type stuff. Which, when we saw that on Twitter, I mean, we were tweeting out about how that puts, if you wanted to have one touchstone, one element that ties it all back to the other things, it would be Yoda. It would be this
Yoda.
Middle-aged, in his prime, long flowing auburn locks of hair, curly ringlets, Yoda, as a Jedi Knight in the High Republic. That would be cool. I wouldn't want him to be like the protagonist, like lead, but as like a side character or like even a cameo, that'd be pretty cool.
Right.
What else? There's a bunch of this drama too about the Obi-Wan series that we could talk about.
Oh yeah, the Obi-Wan series. So yeah, let's dig into that. This is, honestly, I'm not worried very much. When it first leaked that it was canceled, I was like, wait a second, hold on. There is no way they're canceling the most anticipated show coming to Disney Plus. Like, there's no way they're canceling it. And then I think it was 2 days later they said it's on hiatus. It's not canceled, it's on hiatus. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them trying to get it right.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not worried about it really at all either. I have a couple of points on this that I think are interesting. One, I don't know if it's just because now more than ever in my life, I'm aware of these like behind the scenes production Hollywood issues with Star Wars that it seems like every project we're having these types of weird production issues or creative.
Except for The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi had none.
Really, Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, I think, are the only projects that haven't had any issues. Rogue One had issues. Solo had issues. Obviously, Episode 9 had issues. Now this Obi-Wan thing. Anyway, the Benioff and Weiss, before these movies were even announced, that has issues. So it's like we don't even know what was going on with that. Anyway, I digress. The thing that I think is interesting is that at Star Wars Celebration, Kathleen Kennedy, when she announced it and brought out Ewan McGregor, she said the scripts were done and they're great. And now we're hearing that it's postponed because they're trying to get the scripts right. I'm like, Celebration was back in like August. Like, what has been going on in the last 5 months? Like, well, if the scripts weren't good, why are we?
I feel like they wouldn't have greenlit this thing unless they had good scripts. You know? And now they're like, oh, we don't like the scripts.
So while I feel like while it is an easy maybe thing for fans to start once again blaming Kathleen Kennedy or something like that because of all this stuff and all these issues that seem to happen under her watch, I will say that for the most part, the projects always come out. I end up enjoying the projects. I think she's been, by any metric, insanely successful with the Star Wars franchise over the last 5 years. They've made back their $4 billion investment many times over, it seems like, just from the movies, not to mention the merchandising and theme parks and all that stuff. Anyway, what I'm getting at is a couple days ago, I heard Robert Meyer Burnett, who actually was the first one who broke the Duel of the Fates script. He was the one that actually had that scoop. He said he didn't have any insider knowledge, but he felt like that maybe they were postponing the Obi-Wan series because they're actually going to revert it back to a feature film. That now that the Benioff and Weiss stuff got canceled, they can maybe slide in an Obi-Wan feature film right into that 2022 slot release date that they already have. He said he didn't have any insider knowledge, but he's like, it started out as a feature film, and then they put it on hold. Remember, that was one of the first videos we ever did on this channel. It was going to be a feature film. They put it on hold after Solo and that debacle, and then it was going to go to Disney Plus. And they're like, maybe they're thinking now, you know what? We do Deborah Chow, who did an amazing job with her episodes of The Mandalorian. She's supposed to be doing the whole Obi-Wan series. I feel more confidence in her than any other creative person right now for Star Wars, other than maybe, Jon Favreau. But yeah, so I'm like super excited. I'm like, what if they move it back to a feature film? That'd be sweet.
Oh, well, I would only like that if it was a feature film with a movie tie-in, or a feature film with a TV show tie-in. Like, I don't want to lose the TV show aspect where they can tell these kind of fun stories in, 35-minute episodes with The Mandalorian. Yeah. It would be awesome because there is no announced film in 2022. We still don't have anything. And I did hear rumors a while back, and maybe that's where this guy's getting the information from, is they wanted to see if they could do kind of a movie, TV show, kind of tie it in together. I feel like that may be the future of, now that we have all these digital platforms, these digital streaming sites, maybe Disney's like, why don't we use this to our advantage and put out a movie and then a month later do a TV show, or do a TV show and then have the season finale be the movie? I don't know if I like that idea. But anyway.
That might work, actually, yeah. But it's just hard to know which stories to believe and what sources are right, because it was in August she announces we've got the scripts. This is, we're doing great, and then we're on hold because we need to get the scripts right. And then I was reading something that the issue with the scripts was that when they were reading it, it was centric on Obi-Wan on Tatooine watching over a young Luke Skywalker, and they felt like it was too similar to The Mandalorian, like Mando watching over Baby Yoda. It was like the same plot. And I'm like, I mean, The Mandalorian's been in production and everything for years.
And they're just now thinking, no, wait a second.
How do you not know that these are
desert
similar
planet with the... I don't get it either.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Speaking of Mandalorian, who was the person we were supposed to care about at the end of that one Assassins episode on Tatooine? Who was that?
People are saying it was Boba Fett, and I feel like, I don't know.
Oh, I think they're saying it was Boba Fett just because of the spur sound, right? I mean, that's the... Yeah. Anyway.
That's a whole nother... We still never really did a video on The Mandalorian, which is another topic that I think we can and should cover.
Yeah, I need to rewatch The Mandalorian. I've only watched it one time. I need to rewatch it, and then I'll be ready to...
I've watched the first...
I still need to rewatch Solo before we do that recap video, too. I'm just avoiding rewatching Solo.
Hey, if you go into Solo knowing that it's just not... It's not supposed to be at the grand scale of the episodic films, it is a fun movie, all right? But, yeah, we could also revisit our rankings because as much as I love Solo, it has dropped for me in my rankings. Yeah.
I almost sometimes forget that it's a Star Wars movie and that it exists. I thought that's right. There's that Solo movie. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, speaking of...
Sorry, before we leave, wasn't there a rumor that Jar Jar? How believable was that Jar Jar was going to be in the Obi-Wan series? I know you were excited about it, but I was like, eee.
The fact that even in Mandalorian... The fact that in The Mandalorian, Bill Burr's character in that Prison Break episode mentioned Gungans, I'm like, finally, can we get some Gungan representation?
I would not mind seeing Gungans. I just don't know if Jar Jar would be the best way to go into that. I still feel like they should have had Gungans in the final battle scene of, but that's beyond. Anyway.
No, I agree. I think that I would be very surprised if they ever brought back Jar Jar to any type of screen for Star Wars. And while in my head, I think it'd be really funny and fun, I just don't see a reason to do it other than just as like a weird like fan service thing, but like a twisted fan service because so many people hate Jar Jar. Like, haha, here he is.
Isn't that what George Lucas did with Episode 2 when he purposely gave Jar Jar like the first? No. Like Jar Jar was one of the first people we see in Episode 2. Is like, Annie? And you're like, oh my gosh, she's back. Ugh.
Yeah.
I think George Lucas came on the record and said he put that in there for the fans.
When you are the puppet master of a 1,000-year plot to overthrow the Jedi and a Dark Lord of the Sith, you're in the mix. And Jar Jar, Jedi mind tricking, Sith mind tricking the entire Imperial Galactic Senate to give the Supreme Chancellor emergency powers. I mean, is one of the more impressive displays of the Force we've seen in any of the films.
I will say, you know how there's been a lot of good memes ever since Rise of Skywalker. You know how after Episode 8, where everyone was like, when you introduce the Holdo maneuver, like that just ends every movie is just going to end with someone light speeding into whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like they did the same thing with the Force healing, and there's this great meme of Qui-Gon after he got stabbed by Darth Maul, and Obi-Wan has him in his hands, and he says that to the effect of, Obi-Wan, raise him. And he's like, I can Force heal you. No, I'm okay. Just raise Anakin. I don't want to be here anymore.
Or I've seen ones that, like, people who don't like, there's this contingency of people who don't like Rey, think she's a Mary Sue. I like Rey, and I like the character, but that same meme I've seen where it's like, Qui-Gon's like, Obi-Wan, Force heal me. And Obi-Wan's like, sorry, us trained Jedi don't know how to use that Force ability. Because it's like Walker all of a sudden. I'm like, first of all, we never talked about that with Rise of Skywalker, that the entire prequel trilogy is based on this idea of trying to cheat death. And in Rise of Skywalker, we're like, oh, yeah, we can bring people back from the dead. All right,
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
that's a thing.
No problem. Get stabbed, we can heal you. Die being thrown down a nuclear reactor shaft, we can bring you back, no problem. There's one today, another meme I saw. I don't know why I was on this meme topic. Probably my fault. There is a hidden force power shown in the Rise of Skywalker. It's the ability to make your clothes more fabulous. When Darth Sidious, he starts off in black robes, but then after he gains his full power back and uses the lightning, he's in these kind of red robes.
Yeah, because when he was on his War of the World crane, he
Yeah.
he probably got too many dark side formaldehyde stains on it. He's like, I need a new robe, please. I still will contend. I was just talking to somebody about Rise of Skywalker, a friend of mine, and he was saying that he's very similar to you actually. He loved Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker didn't really work for him, and I did have to agree with him on the Palpatine stuff. And I just laughed thinking about our conversation about how he literally, when he's on life support, barely can't even use his own legs. A crane is ragdolling him around. He can use the Force and whip these two kids into the air and bring them to their knees, but as soon as he's back to full power, he cannot handle Rey. I'm like, what is happening? He just committed to that Force lightning. Like, he was down with the ship.
If only Mace Windu had grabbed Kit Fisto's lightsaber, then everything would have been okay. Just
there is something a little anticlimactic about Palpatine now. He has escaped death in Return of the Jedi, and for 35, 40 years, he has Voldemorted his way, sustaining his life somehow, and is now back, and he's at full strength. He did it. He came back from the dead, and 7 minutes later, he is dead again. Like, oh, man, that was a really slow burn for you to just be done.
Finally, unlimited power. Oh, man. Let's talk a little bit about the Clone Wars coming out.
This month we're getting 2 episodes of the Clone Wars on Disney Plus. I actually like the releasing it 1 week at a time, 1 episode.
Yeah, I'm totally down for that. I didn't mind it with Mandalorian. It kept it in the news cycle. My goodness, for all those weeks. Every week it seemed like there was another, just everyone at work was always talking about it. So,
and I
don't know that Clone Wars will have the same effect, but
yeah, I don't think it'll be as popular. But aren't there like 12 or 15 episodes of Clone Wars or something?
As I understand, it's going to go through the beginning of May, I think.
That's yeah. So I like that.
Yeah, we get Mace Windu back, we get Obi-Wan back, we get Anakin, Ahsoka. I mean, it looks awesome.
The trailer I thought was really good, and I'm excited. I mean, Maul is back.
Oh yeah.
Ahsoka, Anakin, Obi-Wan. I mean, it looks like too it's going to kind of bleed into Revenge of the Sith timeline.
What makes you say that?
Well, it seemed like in one of the images from the trailer is Anakin's there and Padme's like a hologram or something, and she looks pregnant. But maybe, I don't know.
Well, that could bleed. Yeah, okay. Interesting. I'm also excited for this new Project Luminous. I don't really know what it is, but it's some big comic book. It's not. I mean, book deals. I don't know what it's going to be. It seems like it's making a lot of rounds on the internet.
I'll tell you what. If you want to find a passionate subsection of the Star Wars fandom, look no further than the people who thought that Ben Solo was done dirty by J.J. Abrams and should not have died. And all these
I'm one of those people.
No, you don't understand the level of passion of these people on the internets, all right? That this Kylo Ren comic that came out that showed that he didn't actually kill the Luke students at the temple, and that they attacked him first and all this stuff. Man, people are upset that Ben Solo died. I also did not like that he died. I felt like we've seen that with Vader already. I would have liked to see him find another path to redemption.
What happens to Kylo in the Duel of the Fates one?
I don't think he is redeemed in Duel. I don't know.
In the last shot, I remember Rey is on a planet with her new Jedi temple. I can't remember what happens to Ben though, or Kylo, I guess.
You know what another cool concept art from that was? I know that I said I wanted to do it in another video, but we've been talking about it so much. Was that Luke? It was going to get interactions with Kylo, which is something we talked about leading up to Rise of Skywalker that we really wanted to see. And it seems like in Duel of the Fates, not only did we get that, but there was a concept art of Force Ghost Luke blocking Kylo's lightsaber with his hand. Force Ghost hand. I'm like, oh yeah, that would have been sweet.
Well, he says, "See you around, kid." I mean,
yeah.
Anyway,
I'll say though that the Han Solo memory scene in Rise of Skywalker might be one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars. It is like a perfect scene to me, and we would have lost that in Duel of the Fates. So I'm not saying that like I just think Rise of Skywalker isn't worth being in the canon anymore. I think that there's some awesome stuff in that movie, but yeah, there's some cool stuff in that concept art for Duel of the Fates too.
We're also getting an announcement either this month or next month about the new animated series. It's going to be a sequel, it sounds like, to Rebels. And they just announced that season 2 of Mandalorian is coming out in November. So that sounds pretty good. I don't know if they have a timeline yet for the Cassian Andor series. Sounds like, but I think that's already in production. And then, as we talked about earlier, Obi-Wan is on hiatus. Old Ben Kenobi is hiding back in his little man cave, whatever that thing is. So,
yep.
We'll have to see if there's any more announcements. I think Celebration will probably give us a lot more information about those future projects. Hopefully, maybe this feature film will be announced. Maybe Rian Johnson's trilogy will finally get the green light. Not that it's ever had a red light, but it's always just kind of been there, talked about amongst the shadows and never really out in the open.
I feel like it's never had a red light, but comments that Rian Johnson has made me think that he doesn't know what's going on. Like Lucasfilm isn't communicating clearly about when's. I mean, he's obviously having tons of success with Knives Out. You know, great. I still haven't seen it, but you know, great reviews and a lot of Oscar buzz.
Fantastic movie. You should see it. I loved it.
I hear footsteps. Anyway, yeah. So, like I said, even though I've been, you know, pretty vocal about how Last Jedi isn't my favorite movie, but not my least favorite Star Wars movie. It's about in the middle of my rankings, but you seem to think that I hate it, and I don't. So just back off. Even though I didn't think that I didn't agree with everything that Rian Johnson did with that movie, I would be extremely excited for Rian Johnson to return and have a fresh new story that he can
and be in control of.
Yes.
And storyboard from the beginning and finalize plans for all 3 movies. My goodness.
I think that no matter where you are right now in the Star Wars fandom of which movies you liked and which directors you liked or whatever, I think that absolutely everyone will agree that whatever the next project is, there needs to be a person whose their vision, their storyboard overarches the entire project. Mm-hmm. And we're not bringing in you come in and do this one, and then you just react however you want to where that person took it, and now you react however you want. That's a recipe for a divided fan base.
Mm-hmm. Sure is. Well, anyway, let's end the video there. I'm excited for the future of Star Wars. I think you know that even though I'm a little down on Rise of Skywalker, it's still a fantastic movie. I'm excited to watch it over and over again, show it to my kids, for a few scenes with the little Voldemort action turning into dust. A little but I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for Clone Wars, and we'll see what the rest of this month holds for us.
Yeah, we're excited to be the dads of Dagobah now, and we both actually, one of the reasons we've been radio silent is we both purchased and built new computers. So we were getting our new setups and everything going on. We're still trying to get all that worked out, but hopefully we can be a little more consistent with the content and keep talking about, because there's still plenty to talk about. We still got to go through more than half of the movies of we would change. Joseph's been dragging his feet because he doesn't want to watch Solo again.
I just don't want to.
Anyway, yeah, I'm excited for the future of Star Wars too. I think the sky's the limit with Disney Plus and the other mediums that they have now to do storytelling. I think that there's lots of new and fun stories for us to explore coming up. So,
well, Sean, we don't have any more socks to salt, so how do we end this episode?
I have no idea. I didn't think that far ahead. I knew that we had talked a little bit about maybe having a name for our fan base, like the Dad Squadron or something like that, or I don't know, but I haven't thought of a sign off yet.
Maybe we should leave it for our fans to decide. How should we sign off these videos? Tell us in the comments below. Tell us what you think.
Tell us in the comments not only what you think our sign off should be, but tell us what you think of the name Dads of Dagobah on a scale of 10 to that is stupid. Like my mom said.
We're not changing it. We're not changing it.
Yeah, no matter what you say, we're not changing it. Because we already got that animation, which is the glue holding this whole thing together. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like. We love getting the comments. We love to hear people's thoughts on what we talked about. Let us know how you've been processing Rise of Skywalker. Let us know if you're excited for Clone Wars and different projects coming up. And what should our sign off be now that we're the dads of Dagobah? What do you think a fun way to say goodbye to you every video would be? So thank you for watching it, and we'll see you in the next one.
Okay, see you guys. Bye.